Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the new classical music alphabet. And we're up to the three great R's. Ooh, the letter R. There are a lot of options for the letter R. There really, really are. Yes, there are for R. And, well, I have my three, and you will have yours. And I'm sure you'll be happy to supply them names and a recording of note for each one, so that people who may not be as familiar with these composers as we are or as you are will have the opportunity to go listen to a typically fabulous example of their art. So, who are we going to do for the R's? First, Rossini. Rossini remains one of the most underrated composers in Western history and one of the greatest. Really an amazing piece because he was both a classical composer and a romantic composer. He was a classical composer of opera and a romantic composer of piano and chamber works. Really kind of amazing. He lived from 1792 to 1868. Because he's Italian, he's often ignored when listing the great classical composers, Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven. Think about it. Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, and Rossini? But yes, he deserves to be in that list. He really did, because he codified and sort of systematized, as did Mozart and Beethoven and Haydn and those people, the stylistics of Italian classical opera. And then he created or pointed the way forward to the romantic bel canto school of Donizetti and Bellini and the grand operas of Meyerbeer and the French composers who came afterward. Really a major, major figure. And then he had a nervous breakdown and took a break for 20 years or so and reinvented himself privately, but he did, as a composer of fabulously funny and interesting and witty romantic piano works and small chamber pieces, vocal and instrumental. Really had a remarkable career, and people, musicologists particularly, have not yet wrapped their brain around everything that he achieved. But in order to get you started with Rossini, you've got to have a disc of Rossini overtures. I mean, you know some of them. You know William Tell, probably, from The Lone Ranger. You know The Barber of Seville, from Bugs Bunny and other places. They are the most witty, delicious, delightful pieces of orchestral music written in the classical period. Rossini's last operas came from the late 1820s, the same time as the death of Beethoven. But the overtures are just amazing, and there are many, many wonderful recordings of them. But just get the disc of Rossini overtures performed by the Chamber Orchestra of Europe under Claudo Abbado on Deutsche Grammophon. It is as light and fresh as the morning dew. It's amazing. It's sprightly. It's using the actual original orchestrations that Rossini intended, and the performances are just whip-snap precise, because Rossini was extremely obsessive-compulsive. That's why he had the nervous breakdown. And his orchestral writing is just pinpoint precise, requires hair-trigger precision, and you just cannot play it cleanly enough. And my goodness, those are marvelous performances. So give Rossini a shot. You'll be happy. Next, Albert Roussel, the greatest French symphonist of the early 20th century. He was a wonderful composer. He wrote chamber music, he wrote symphonies, he wrote ballets. He's not as well known as he deserves to be. His style became eventually neoclassical, which means, very shapely, formally concise, rhythmically charged, harmonically crunchy, tangy, like a nice sorbet. It's wonderful. And the work, I think, that deserves the most attention for this neglected composer, it's a neglected work, is his Second Symphony. Now, the Second Symphony is a transitional work from the late Romantic style of César Franck and Vincent d'Indy, that school of French symphonic composition, and his mature neoclassical style, as represented by the third and fourth symphonies and the ballet Bacchus et Ariane, which is amazing. But the Second Symphony is a dark, passionate, tragic, even tragic work. Really, really remarkable piece of music that doesn't get any attention, and it's just a pity. And the Martinon recording on Erato, now Warner Erato, if you call it that, has been a classic since the day it was made. It's never been bettered, and it's a superb rendition of just a brilliant and intense and probing, profound piece of music that will really enrich your musical life once you get to know it. It's just a tremendous work, and Roussel's oeuvre generally is pretty amazing. You need to give it a shot, and I think you'll be very, very, very pleased. And last but not least, of course, Rachmaninoff. Everybody loves Rachmaninoff. Well, just about everybody. Principally for his piano concertos, but also his Second Symphony, and he wrote actually quite a bit more besides. He was not a fast composer, nor was he a terribly prolific composer, but he did write a good bit of music. His symphonic dances have become quite popular recently, and they're incredibly brilliant, one of his last works. But the piece that probably is most representative of him today is the Third Piano Concerto, which shows up at every piano competition you've ever heard of, with everybody playing it. It's a very difficult piece to play, not just because the piano part's difficult, but because the orchestral part is tricky. And the integration between piano and orchestra is what the piece is all about. It's really a symphony for piano solo and orchestra. And the soloist has to be very, very sensitive in knowing when to back off, when to let the orchestra take center stage, and vice versa. It requires serious collaboration with a very good conductor. And the recording that you really should hear is Zoltan Kocsis, the late great Hungarian pianist, with the San Francisco Symphony under Abbado de Waart. Now, Rachmaninoff recorded all of his concertos and concertante works and did it extremely well. I mean, the sound is lousy. The records were made in the 20s and 30s, but his performances are marvelous. And so the reason I recommend the Kocsis recording is because it's probably the closest we'll ever get to a modern recording with Rachmaninoff himself at the keyboard, because his own playing of his music tended to be fleet and light and elegant and finely turned, and that's exactly what Kocsis gives us. It's music that goes like quicksilver, really, really sensitive and snappy and vivacious, and it never bogs down in excessive sentimental glue, which happens in a lot of performances. It's a marvelous recording. So Rachmaninoff is definitely one of the R's. And like I said, when you make your own list, you can use my people, or you can pick all of your own. But let's hear the 3 R's. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.